And a special thank you to all our sponsors that make the show possible. Also, just so that you know, Brook.ai, we're going to have a conversation with Brook.ai soon, where Brooke's actually going to talk to us, supposedly. We'll see how that goes. So it should be pretty interesting. A few book recommendations. There's also interesting amount of books in this area, but there isn't a lot of books on the history of F&I or even techniques, really. I mean, there's some, but I think that'd be a great topic for someone to write a book on. I had to throw in one about car nuts because I am one. So the old car nut book, Future of Automotive Retail from Steve Greenfield from Automotive Ventures. Brand new book just came out. So definitely check that out. And the Automotive F&I Selling Guide. There's a couple books there, but there isn't really a lot. So if you're in the book writing vein or you're in that business, great topic. Go ahead, Jeff, with our disclaimer.
Well, good morning, everybody. And as we start every show with the disclaimer, because we like to tell everybody that the views and opinions shared on the show are not necessarily that of the AutoHub show and me and Nethercott and Jeff Polo, and are those of our guests, even though we may do agree with them or not. We never say. But please check it out for all the legalities.
Thank you very much. And the show today is about step selling versus menu selling in F&I. But also a talk about sort of where F&I is going, because as we know, pivoting and change is part of the car business, especially these days, part of every business. So let's get into it. So I'm just going to change this over and we'll get from there. So let me move this over. I'm just going to kill something. Go ahead, Mr. Jeff.
Well, good morning again. And we have another great show today. And you know, as we transition into the world of podcasts, we keep forgetting. Instead of saying good morning, we should say good day. Thanks for joining us, because who knows what time people do watch this. But joining us today is an old friend of the show. I'm just going to rephrase that. A good friend of the show who's been here many times. Becky Chernick, who's the president and CEO of Chernick Consulting in my favorite line, sprawling metropolis of Oak Ridge, North Carolina. Becky, say hi and tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, again, thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here with you guys and on AutoHub. And I certainly enjoy it, and also meeting some new fellows as well that are part of our automotive industry and all the awesome topics that you have. I've been involved in the automotive industry all my life. I grew up in the car business. Father had a dealership, PhD here. But then later I end up working at a Ford dealership, get promoted into F&I, and, get sent to Pat Ryan and Associates. And it's interesting because I have written many books on the history of F&I. So maybe that's a good idea that I'll talk more on the history of that F&I. But I get sent to Pat Ryan and Associates, and later on became a director of finance for some large automotive groups in the Washington, D.C. area. And then was recruited by JM&A. And it's interesting because we are talking about menu selling, step selling. So from Pat Ryan to the way that we used to do box closes to my promotion in the AutoNation stores. So I'm promoted to the AutoNation mega stores. And for the first time ever, we're meeting customers at a kiosk in the middle of the showroom. And this is where we pioneered menu selling for the first time. We're in these stores and we're doing the complete opposite of anything that was ever trained to ever do in F&I. And every naysayer was saying there's no way you can be upfront and still be profitable. Well, I got to tell you, we took the nation by storm. We certainly proved that you could be. We went from the AutoNation mega stores into the new car stores. And then later on, I went on to found my company, Chernick Consulting, in 2001, traveling all through the United States, training that concept, understanding menu selling, and also in Canada. So it has been a pleasure to facilitate workshops there with some tech dealer services in Ontario and Canada, as well as Calgary, and some of the wonderful dealers I've had a chance to work with over the years. So it's a pleasure again. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you so much for being with us. I was about to say, till you said Canada, that I said, well, you haven't lived till you've actually come up here. And then you said Ontario. I was going to say, hey, wait a minute. Now there's all of us out west. So you hit Calgary, and now us in BC are going,
and Quebec, exactly. Sorry. Yes, absolutely. Great people, process, and I got it I got most of that down, and it was a tremendous amount of fun. I enjoyed working with the guys and gals in Canada. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you so much. New to the show, hopefully, if I remember correctly, lots of shows, is Chris Collins, who's the president and CSO, which that says on LinkedIn, so you can explain that in a minute. Vunetic Technologies in a variety of locations. It says on LinkedIn Calgary, but I believe you're out here in the greater Vancouver area. Chris, please say hi and tell us a bit about yourself and your company. And what the heck is CSO?
Yes, good morning, Jeff. Good morning, Ian. Thank you. And Becky, very, very nice to meet you. And just looking forward to making new friendships and sharing best practices. So, Chief Sales Officer, Chief Head Dishwasher, you call me what you want. You know, we're just here to serve. So, Vunetic Technologies is a performance enhancing software for the F&I space, but is now we're building new modules for sales, service, parts, etc. So we're very excited about that. I've been in the car industry since the mid 90s until the early 2000s when I sought a career in mortgages. I was a mortgage broker for about 17 years and I had a great career in that. But then I ended up retiring from that, you know, in about 2017, 2018, jumped back into the auto industry, which is my passion. I know Ian says he's got a passion. We all have, it's all a passion, you know. Becky, I was listening to you, I thought Papa has a dealership, that reference, you know. Anyways, grew up in the industry, you may as well have, and just enjoying every minute of it. But lending obviously flows, Becky, through my veins, right? You know, as a senior lender, back into mortgages, back into the auto industry, I identified very quickly a lot of holes in the way that we do things and the process. And, accounting for the results and how do we track performance? If you can't measure it, you can't move it, right? So this is kind of a big deal. We find that a lot of our customers, obviously, that we're blessed to have customers across North America now. People put the results on spreadsheets, and that's not a great thing to do. People don't love to read spreadsheets, but anyhow, so that is what we're doing now. I also run a consulting company as well, where I don't think I'll ever stop training and trying to inspire and try to share those best practices on a daily basis. So super excited to be here. Can't wait to talk more. And I hope that was a good definition, Ian and Jeff, of CSO. Sounds
perfect. I never dreamed, because I'm thinking tech terms. Let me see here. Couldn't get it. And I just want to acknowledge both Bruces for being here and watching the show. Thank you, gentlemen. We always love an audience, and I crave for an audience from the old days of the live, totally live and never recorded, having 30, 40, 100 people on and looking through my screen going, okay, who's here, to now we never know. So thank you. Ian, take it away with the first questions, please.
Thanks very much. As I said, when I came up with the video earlier on from the show, I was really looking at the past of F&I, the future, and looking at the reason I picked automation, which is kind of ironic that Becky worked for them, is I feel they're a big group, but also they're an innovative group. And that video really talked about the future. So it was kind of interesting. But, obviously menu selling is somewhat new in the Canadian market, but is not a new technique, and definitely not new in the restaurant industry. And it's been around, I think, for about 20 years in auto. Am I right, Becky?
Yeah, 1997 is when we kicked it off in the AutoNation megastores. Wayne Huizinga, he was way before his time, and it was the most phenomenal experience. Like I said, it was complete opposite of anything that I was ever trained to do with Pat Ryan and Associates. And here we are meeting customers at a kiosk in the middle of the showroom, presenting all these options. And customers understood the terms of the sale. They understood their base payment. They knew what they were getting for their trade-in. Are you kidding me? This is 1997. It was like unheard of. And then we presented their base payment, interest rate, and products. And customers understood all the payments of the sale. And wouldn't you know it, they still bought. And
Exactly.
Like, how is this working?
Exactly.
My biggest takeaway of what you said there, and you continue, please, I have to say that, is you were no longer the girl in the back.
No longer the girl in the back. That is so true. And it's kind of funny because meeting customers at a kiosk in the middle of the showroom, as you well know, is completely unheard of. There was no F&I office really to take a customer into in those stores. We had an admin office to print up docs, but customers stayed out of the kiosk in the middle of the showroom. So no ball and chain mentality. You're not going to drag someone in that F&I office to spend hours trying to close them down on that service contract, whatever it takes to close that customer on the service contract. And so those days were over, especially when it came to AutoNation. They had zero tolerance for that kind of behavior.
But
They
it wasn't a
wanted
good idea. They didn't grow much after that, did they?
Oh, exactly, right? And everybody said it's going to fail. That's the thing. It was, Becky, are you out of your mind? Get back in the box. That's where you belong. That's where your strength is. This isn't going to work. You can't be upfront and still be profitable. So how is that all going to work?
So what's your opinion on step selling versus menu, being that there's some people even today who still say step selling is still a good option? What's your thought, having experienced that in the very early days? What's your opinion on both systems and pros and cons?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I prefer not to step sell. I feel when you step sell, it is a higher pressure tactic because you're going from one product to the next product to another product. And as you do so, you're adding payment and you're actually upselling. You're going up the steps. It's more pressure as opposed to a presentation and not prejudging the products. It's offering every customer 100% of the products 100% of the time. And it's just easier. It's not, there's no pressure to it. It's up to you. You choose what's best for you.
Right.
Only you know what products you may be interested in. I might not buy the same product as you would. Everyone is different, and that's how you have to look at it. It made it so much easier. And not banging my head up against the wall trying to figure out who I'm going to sell what product to at what price. And so a lot of times what ends up happening, this is where product gouging takes place. So I'm going to pick up on a service contract and blow it up as high profit as I can possibly get away with. And then while we're at it, we've got to have that gap. So it's pretty much product gouging, picking and choosing what products, and you leave so much on the table.
Fantastic.
Not to mention the overall customer experience.
Oh, 100%. Chris, what do you think? I mean, obviously Canada's been more of a step selling environment for a long time. I mean, there has been a transition to menu, and I think more and more dealers are looking at it and using it. But what's your thought?
You talk the way you speak, Becky. It's how I wanted to scream hallelujah, because I'd like to go a little bit deeper into the core of the issue, and I think it's confidence. I think step selling is the safety. So I get one, and then if they say no to the rest, it's okay, but at least I got a result. There's a big psychology in it, and I'd like to go a little deeper into that discussion, because I'll tell you right now, I thank God that airline pilots use a checklist. Because if they didn't, we'd be all in big trouble, right? Like that. So where I'm going with that is your confidence level as a passenger. We know that gives us a confidence level. So in F&I, when I was in the chair, having that setup, having that presentation, I am not confused. I mean, I don't want the pilot to come over the intercom and say, hey folks, there's some weather in front. Which way should I go? Like what? Like, why are we leaving it to the customer to decide which direction we're going to go? If we want to make the customer believe that we know what we're doing and what we're talking about, I mean, we do this every day, they do not. So if we have a plan and we have a menu sell, and I don't like the word menu necessarily, I like to have a plan. What's your plan, okay? And if we have that plan, that can be very convincing from a customer's perspective. I can say, well, Bruce Shaver, man, this guy, he knows what he's doing. I don't buy a Honda Accord every day. I know what I'm told. Right, Becky? Do you see where I'm going with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the idea where you're talking about confidence, because when you go in with any presentation with confidence and understanding of your product presentation, I mean, the stronger you become, and it's just much more intuitive.
You can't be talked down. You cannot be talked down. Folks, we have a core setup here, however you want to describe it, right? We've got warranty and paint protection. These are core and essential items to have a successful ownership experience. And when you talk that enthusiasm with that confidence, you cannot be talked down. But I'll tell you, you know, in the F&I, I tried many. Step selling is possible, okay? If you can do it with integrity, obviously. I mean, I'm all about disclosing payment. I'm not afraid to disclose the payment up front and build value around it in the menu selling. Like, that's your best chance. And I love where you were going with it. I was just kind of doing one of these, letting you speak, you know? But I'll tell you, step selling is possible, but it's very complex. You have to be an amazing multitasker, and your brain has to have the capacity to go in different directions, but all come back to center. And to do that with full disclosure and integrity, unless maybe Hollywood has it wrong, maybe we shouldn't use a script anymore. Maybe we shouldn't use a script anymore.
Well, you know, the fact is that step selling is also a lot more work, and it always boggled my mind. Being in the car business, we try to find the shortest distance between 2 points. Hi, how you doing? You want to buy a car? Sit down, sign here, sign those papers. Thank you, bye, enjoy your car before they come out of the ether. And here we are in the business office spending, F&I spending hours as we go over the minutia of every little single thing. And then everybody's stressed out. The customer doesn't want to deal with it and then cancels things the next day.
Like, why though? The question is why? Is the customer the only one in the room with being anxious, or where am I going with that? Kind of nervousness?
Yeah. Well, the customer's usually not.
Right.
It's usually the staff sitting there, business manager. You know, a lot of the times you look in their office and they're just before they get the customer, and they're lining everything up, and they're stacking everything in there. Okay, here they come. Hi, your payment's $1,932.
Right.
So our business, it doesn't go up and down. It's not a roller coaster business. We ebb, we flow everywhere. And there's no other place than the car business where everything old is new again. All of a sudden, you know, look at now, some dealers are saying, I got a great new idea, one price selling. Yes, that's what we're going to, well, now the price goes up every week. But what direction do you think things are going to go as the industry starts to adapt new ways? And, you know, we talk about menus versus step selling, and that's a big deal because a lot of places are going to a non-dedicated F&I manager. Again, the new idea from 1999. Where they're going to go to one person, does the meet, the greet, and handles it right to the end. Where do you think that's going to go from here? I'll actually go back to you, Chris.
Well, I just think that, I don't think I know it. I mean, look what's happening in the world right now. People's radar is up. People are more educated than ever. So whatever way we do go, we better have a plan to execute, right? And that's where I'm just a very, very big believer in menu selling. I am also a believer that customers know one thing, and that's exactly what we tell them. And as professionals, it is up to us to do full disclosure, to face it and embrace it. I wholeheartedly agree with Becky. And gee whiz, was it 1997 that the concept of menu selling, did you say, Becky, came out?
Well, I would say that there was probably some other conversations, maybe some stores someplace. But I will say in a big way, this is where just changed that whole thinking that you could be completely upfront with that customer, understanding the terms of the sale prior to going into the product presentation. JM&A was well known for their AEP, the Advanced Equity Plan. Pat Ryan was also very well known for step selling procedures. And it was just completely opposite of anything that we were ever trained to do as far as that practice. Yes, it was so many individuals, all the experts. You can't do this. Right. There's no way it's going to work, that you're going to be profitable. Becky, get back in the box. I'm telling you, that's just was the mindset.
Right. And things can and will change. It's change management. People are more overt, obviously, to change. But where do I think it's going? I think as a consumer, Jeff and Ian, I believe wholeheartedly that customers still need to be led. They still would like brick and mortar. I believe will never go away. I believe that it is evolving. It will forever evolve. My wife shops online now. She orders groceries from Costco, you know, and I said, what the heck are we doing here? Like, why do you do that? She said, well, I save money in gas. So for the fee that it costs, I can do something more constructive with our little guy, read books, whatever. So it evolves, but there's still people that want to have that live experience. So I think it's going to be a healthy mix of both, to be honest. How
are you going to get your Achilles tendon hit in the back from a shopping cart online?
I don't know. I'm old school. I go to Costco just to look around.
Yeah.
I like it. It's an experience. You get up, you get out, and I'm the spender. If I see value, I will buy. So I mean, I really practice what I preach, you know. But so I think it's evolving. I'd love to hear from you, Becky, where you think the industry's going. I don't think dealers want to hear that brick and mortar's going away. I don't believe it in my heart for a minute it's going away.
I don't know, 200,000 square feet really kind of affects your bottom line if nobody's coming in there.
Yeah.
Becky?
Well, I think that we need to have or evolve where we approach the customer however which way they want to be approached. We need to make sure that if that customer wants to be engaged earlier on online, that's where we need to be. F&I needs to be omnipresent. I completely agree with that. Wherever the customer is where I am. So for an example, when I was out at a kiosk in the middle of the showroom, that was odd. I was outside my comfort zone. No customers coming into the F&I box, that was for sure. But now it's not there. It's wherever they are. It's in their living room. It's in their kitchen. It's in their office. Wherever the customer wants to start that engagement is where I want to be. Does that necessarily mean it's going to go completely, that transaction is going to be complete online? Or will that transaction be complete in the dealership environment? Likely in the dealership environment once they take delivery of the vehicle. That being said, everyone needs to be on the same page. Once the customer comes into the dealership, we need to make sure that we're not starting this process all over again. So from online to in dealership to integrate that workflow to completing that digital experience throughout to finalizing that transaction, either with a designated F&I person or with a single point sales associate. But here's the thing. I think that brick and mortar definitely is not going away. What customers don't want to see happen is they don't want to be in the dealership all day buying a car. They want efficiency. And we need to be able to drive that efficiency, the ultimate customer experience. And by utilizing this technology, we certainly can make that happen.
Well, what's the magic word? Starts with a P. Anyone want to take this one?
Performance?
Process, right?
Process. I should know process. That's exactly right.
Yeah, like it's process. I love where you're going with, because look, let's embrace it. Let's go digital. Let's go whichever way you want to go. But it will all come to center. And the other thing I was thinking is service. Everyone needs this, even if it's an electric car, you need to service it. Go where the customer is going. What Becky said is dead right. Like we're already there. Customers are for sure coming back for service, right? Well,
You're so right. So like, for example, when we were freaking out about menu selling, like, oh my gosh, how in the world can you be upfront and still be profitable? How is this going to take off?
Yeah.
Now we're right where we were then. But
Right.
Now it's about how much information can we give to that customer online versus waiting till the customer makes their way into the dealership before we talk about those F&I terms.
Right.
That's where we're at. That's where we are again.
You know, without a plan of where you're going, you're not really going to define your process. So if you have your targets, you have your goals, you want to achieve it, you build your process around it and you execute no matter what it is. If it's total brick and mortar, split 50-50, remote, then brick and mortar, you better have your process down. And that's a big skill. Like the most successful dealers that I see and I work with and or that I'm aware of, their process is so defined, it is not negotiable. You have a new sales champion come in, you have someone in service. If you don't fall in line, you're not a part of the solution for the team. Like the most successful dealerships, their process is not confusing, believe me. It is put up or shut up, kind of.
Well,
You
it's,
know, I wanna
it's interesting. When I traveled all over the USA, when I was working with JM&A and as a consultant going into dealerships, every store is different. But here's one thing. If you don't have a process, if you're shooting from your hip, you always tend to not be as profitable. Just darn.
So now you're talking about the human factor, Becky. So
Oh,
what
no.
happens? What happens in F&I? We're all humans, and we can sometimes get in our own way and overthink it. We slide away from the process.
Yeah.
What I like to train is stop trying to psychoanalyze each customer and figuring each customer's different. So you got to offer something separate to each customer. No, save that brain space and just get your confidence, get your core essential offering, do it top down, right? Menu sell, right? Top down, and execute. And Mother Nature takes care of the rest, frankly. And get out of your own way.
I think that's so true because, you know, we have a tendency sometimes, just as you said, we overthink things. Don't. You know, just get in there, get to know the customer, engage the customer way, which way that is. Build that credibility factor with the customer. Get the customer. People buy from people that they want. Enjoy being around.
Yeah.
You make them feel good. It's about that. Make me feel good. I like you. You have built my credibility. I'm going to go ahead and listen up to what you have to say. Don't make it hard. Make it easier. If you make it easier, people are going to love you and people will buy from you. That's it. I wish it was more complicated than that, but the reality of it is that's it.
You're dead right. And I say hallelujah. And the thing is, we all try to figure out all these not schemes, but sort of these ways, these swim lanes or these paths, get the result we want from customers, but actually it's all on us because we're just as human as the customer, right? So there's feelings on both sides there, you know, everybody's human, but if we just stick to the plan and stop overthinking it, I couldn't be more convinced about it. You got
to know your stuff. You got to know your stuff. It's like, it's a people business. Yes, absolutely. Do you need to be personable? Of course you do. It's not, technology is not taken away from the individual. It's just helping you to engage, to be more efficient in what you do. But what we want to make sure that we're doing, you know, and I get a lot of heat over this. I really do. I get heat because I do talk about practicing and role play and presentations and addressing and overcoming objections. And everyone says, oh my gosh, don't do that, Becky. You're going to be robotic. Well, of course you're going to be robotic if you don't role play, if you don't study your presentation. Just like you, me, before I go into any kind of presentation with anyone, I always take a look. I always know what I'm going, or I think I try to have a real good idea of what I'm presenting and what are my talking points before I get into a presentation. Why?
Why?
Because it organizes me, right? Yeah. There's no way I'm going to go ahead and go on stage without studying my presentation. So if that's what it is.
Customers will peel that apart, 1000%. Like I am a big believer of, before you roll or present product, you better go and do a walk around of that car, that boat, that RV, whatever it is, and that couldn't be more complimentary to a customer. If you know what color their interior is and they have perforated seats and air conditioning and they heats the coffee or cools this, that, whatever the gadget, or maybe it's a base model, anything doesn't matter, and say you're very, very smart, take the base model. It's very complimentary because the customer thinks, well, this person is ready. And what drives me nuts as a consumer, if you're not ready for me, that drives me nuts. I am all ears, but you better have something to say.
And it's got to be about you. It's not about me.
Right.
It's about my customer. It's about what the hot buttons are for you. Yeah. And then from there, absolutely, and how my products are of value based off of what you told me, not what I think. You could care less. I mean, maybe you might care, but the reality of it is it's all about that customer and how those products become the value behind what they told me.
So you just identified the biggest sweet spot for me. People like to talk about what? Themselves.
Absolutely.
It 100%. I'm going to buy a minivan right now, and I'm going to go and take my whole, my crew here to the soccer game. There's some, this is what I need. we need to really sit back and listen. But I really think it starts at the beginning, Becky. If we kind of just go back a little bit, the process is that first touch to the customer, the meet, greet, rapport build. That's so important because that's where we start to build that trust, that transfer of trust. And it's all about transitions. You know, we talked about, you know, if it starts remote and then it goes to brick and mortar, whatever way it is, it just has to be smooth transition. So that transition from sales to F&I, whether it's like end to end, right? But right now it's, you marry those together. Those transitions are so important. And we need to do more listening and build around it, to your point. Absolutely.
Yeah, we just need to make it like all come together, integrate that workflow, and create an environment where it's just easier. There's just not going back. And all this, you know, the traditional way of doing things just muddy the waters. They slow things down. They create more mistakes than what we need to.
Well, what do people do? People survive the best way they know how. When I think about sales, okay, sales and F&I, they should be, I always do this, they should be like this, intertwined, right?
Yeah.
But you know what sales thinks? What are they doing back there in F&I?
Amen.
What's going
Amen.
on back there?
I can tell you how many times, and you know, when I'm working in Canada, and I can tell you for years, I've been there, Charles Glenn Toyota, Todd Richardson, I don't know if you know him or not, what a great GM, or dealer actually, he has the Lexus store there, and some others, and just really creating the environment of getting out on the floor. You know, Evan, get out of that office, get on the floor, meet customers out there. Get involved sooner rather than later, engage. And how important is that? Because that sends a completely different message on the floor to our salespeople. Yes?
Well, it's a culture. It becomes a culture. And there's no difference between rapport building. If we want a result from our customer to build rapport, build that trust, how are you going to get a result out of sales and work seamlessly together if you don't build that rapport with your sales team? You can't have it. So right now, in dealerships that are challenged, I think they survive the best way they know how. Well, it's us and them, which is ludicrous to me. You're all a team. And I know people, you know, drop a penny in the jar, team, but you have to live it out. And I'll tell you the most, and Becky, you tell me if I'm dead wrong, but the most successful dealerships, they live it out as a team and they get the result.
Yeah, it's like you don't have these egos that get in the way of success. Yeah. It's like everybody.
There's no egos in the car business.
Oh my God.
No.
Like there's some, and it does tear apart teams because there's no I or whatever in India, but basically I and team, and someone like a powerhouse can actually destroy a good process.
Absolutely.
Because those people circumvent the process.
Yeah.
And so this is everyone working together for the same goal in mind, intention in mind. Sales.
Hey, Beck, can I jump?
F&I.
Can I jump
Look
in
who
on
it is!
Here I am.
Come on. Good morning, Larry.
It's the Elvis of the car business, Larry.
I love you, Larry. Good to see you.
Only one Elvis, baby. Let's not go there. Here's something interesting that I think you'll appreciate. I was at a dealership and I was minding my own business. I was doing my usual sales training and recruiting, and I won't mention the name of the place, but the owner came over, and I'm actually real friendly with the owner, and he said, "What are you doing, Feldman?" Now, this was hilarious because I had 4 people lined up for interviews. I says, I'm just staring out the window. He laughed. I laughed. He said, "Can you help me with my F&I department?" Now, I am certainly I'm no Becky, I'm no Christopher, I'm no expert. But I said, let me guess, and because the problems have always been endemic. And it was really simple. What I suggested is, and I made him do it while I was there so I could have some fun, was pull, instead of a sales service meeting that I'm always talking about, how about an F&I meeting with the F&I director or the manager and the team? And explain to them the reason we're always hollering at you to get the information right is we don't waste time. You get the people in out quicker. And hey, maybe you'll have time to sell an extra car and a happier customer. Because the number one complaint is always not that we ripped them off, not that the price was too high, but how long it took. And unfortunately, since I've been on every end of the car business, that's usually the salespeople giving the wrong information to the F&I team. So if they sit with them and explain to them, here's why this is in, because everything comes back to everyone's self-interest. If I just say to you, because I said so, I sound like your father. But if I said, here's why I want you to do it, here's why it'll help you make more money and be more time expedient, you have a better shot. All right? Is that good, Becky?
I love it. Love it, Larry.
Treat me like
Good
a
job.
fool. Now
I'm
I'm
gonna
doing
take you
my
on
own
the
thing.
road with me,
here
Larry.
we go. Thank you very much.
Chris,
Take
you
Larry
don't.
on the road.
Chris, I've never had the chance to meet you, so you don't formally know. Becky and I were engaged, but it came down to a contract, and it just took way too long to do.
You looked at the menu and said, I don't know, man.
Whoa. Have you seen Becky's picture? The menu is just fine, baby. I just wasn't sure about the residual cost.
The expectations is what I was.
There we go.
And remember our disclaimer.
Don't get me in trouble.
Not you.
I can get in trouble all by myself.
Chris, the
Larry,
disclaimer is now officially known as the Larry Feldman rule. And
Larry Claus.
yes.
Larry, really nice to meet you. Becky, when I listened to Larry there, the why. Like what result do you expect if the sales team doesn't know the why? They're going to survive in a human way, the best way they know how, which is probably more self-serving at that point because they're there to make money to support their family too. So you are really kind of not in the equation at the moment unless they know the why and the relevance. So Becky, I'm on the floor. Becky is the business manager and she explains to me the why. That's important to me now because it's important to her and she's articulated that to me, right? But unless we know they know the why, don't ever expect that result. And by the way, do we say F&I manager or business manager? What's the most common term? Anybody? What would you all agree?
In the States, it's F&I manager. In Canada, it is business financial services manager or business manager.
And they all end with the word manager, right? Okay.
Not necessarily. If it's a Saturday and you're trying to get into the office, the term is jerk. Just so you know.
I love it. But you're right. But what I'd like to zero in on, and I've never been called that, by the way. Of course, that's the ego coming, right? But manager, what does manager mean? You know what I say?
To manage.
To manage your business, man, you have to manage, right? So that's special to me. It's not just on autopilot here. I got a lot of things to manage. And part of that nuance is managing the sales team, and I don't know why this is like a knee-jerk reaction.
Well, I think is important, and this is something that maybe, again, Larry was speaking to, but what has to happen, everyone is important. Everyone, sales is our front line, desking, find everyone together. Meetings, those meetings have to include the business manager, the finance manager, the financial services manager, and we need their feedback. And they need to be a part and treated as if they are a part of the team and perhaps not an afterthought.
With one proviso, Beck. With one proviso.
What?
Meetings have to have a beginning. They have to have an end. They have to have an agenda because
absolutely.
I have offered managers all over the country and now in Canada $500 cash if they would just stand up in a meeting and say, I don't think we've wasted enough time on this. Let's blather on for 2 more hours.
I'll take
Nothing worse than when meetings just become endless bullshit, or worse, they forget where there is and it becomes an attack session. Here's what we're going to talk about today. Here's what we can do to make you more money and have more fun.
Well, let me just make sure that I confirm that up because you're absolutely correct. It is 15 minutes. It's 10 minutes. But it is a planned conversation.
Chris, did you hear her?
She said part of the team.
Chris, she said I'm absolutely right. If she was that agreeable, we would have been married by now.
No, you're right, because it does need to be a time thing because you can't go on, and it's not a bitch session. It's really just to get together, come up with some really good meaty topics to go over with your sales department. And even if it's how to fill out a credit application, whatever, what's necessary to go ahead and finalize this transaction.
Chris said it right. It's the why. It's the why. Why the hell are we at work? What are we trying to accomplish? What's the purpose? These are the oldest analogies on the planet, but it's simple. Everybody knows how to use a navigation, but if you don't put in the coordinates, you'll never get there. If you don't know where you're going, it just makes it 100 times more difficult. And screaming at people or being frustrated with them without trying to remove the source of the frustration is pointless and ridiculous.
Hey, you've been to Disneyland, right? Woo! You're blowing, I mean, it's a lot of money, man. It's a lot of money to go there, but there's a process. You understand the why. You understand there's the fast pass and the why. You understand all that. And actually, you're okay to be shoulder to shoulder bumping into people all day. Humans are okay with the process. They need to be taught the why. It's very, very important. Unless, and I couldn't be a bigger proponent on the sales team and F&I managers. If they don't come together like this, then the whole process is going to be a struggle. It's going to be the transfer of trust between the two. Mm-hmm. Sales spends all the time on the front side. You may as well get together earlier on to have that success. I lost myself. I was going to make another point with the drum roll, but maybe it'll come back to me. You guys.
No. And I love the interlocking fingers. I'm just concerned that if you do break or sprain a finger, this presentation is going to be altered somewhat, but it's okay.
I do have to interject for a moment, folks. We're back down to the 10-minute mark, and we have been caught up too many times and running on and on and on and on, and we're getting nasty emails. Our second and most nasty email is how long we run. Our first is Larry. No, but guys, what a great conversation! Yeah. I love it. It's outstanding. It's nice.
In sensitiveness to time, thanks for that, Jeff. We had 2 questions here. I'm not sure on the compliance side. I know it's a popular topic in F&I, but what's your feeling on the compliance side, Becky and Chris, when you look at menu versus step? Is either an advantage on the compliance side? Let's start with Chris.
Well, I would say that your top performers, your unicorns, can do step or menu and be compliant. You just have to make sure that you have that integrity. That compliance is a big thing. It's the only thing you can take with you. So that's what I train. Take your integrity with you to the next place, right? Make sure that you're just full disclosure, be compliant. There's no problem to do both, but what we need are systems, successful systems like menus, to keep everybody on track on script, and the compliance will just kind of flow through, I think, a little more seamlessly. I disclose the payment up front, the terms, conditions, the payment, I build around it, and that compliance piece is a little smoother. Becky, I don't know what you think about that.
Okay, well, what a loaded question. So just going in, because yes, I'm not going to say that, step selling, everyone who utilizes step selling may not be compliant. I'm going to assume that some, not many, because I've trained up a lot of people over the years. I mean, hundreds, and if not thousands. And I got to tell you that it's very difficult for some of these F&I people to put a base payment and then say, okay, so this is your base payment, and now I'm going to go ahead and talk to you about a service contract. And it just doesn't happen as much as it should in that regard. So got to be careful with step selling and compliance. Best practices in making sure that the customer truly understands the terms of the sale. I just think it's a lot easier when we utilize menu. All the terms of the sale is disclosed to the customer the very first thing. It's part of that process. It's embedded in the workflow. Customers understand the terms of the sale from the very beginning, prior to coming into that F&I office or business office, and assuring that those terms are properly disclosed along with that base payment and APR. All the products are presented, hopefully itemized to the customer that satisfies Reg Z here in the States. I'm not, again, quite sure about Canada and what those requirements include, but it's just better to have those products itemized, priced out for the customer to take advantage. It is a paper trail that certainly ties up the fact that we went over all the terms and we were ethical and upfront. That's my answer on that one.
Fair enough.
One thing I have to say in Canada is our compliance is only is what happens after if you don't do something.
Amen. So that's the beauty of making sure that we have that in place, because you're 100% of the products with every single customer all the time. And if anything, it's after the fact. What didn't a customer understand the terms of the sale before you went into that presentation? Did they quite get all the terms of the sale before you went into the product presentation? With a menu, you can certainly, there's a paper trail of understanding.
Oh, yeah.
So it just makes it easier. It's not banging your head up against the wall and having to prove your case.
It's the storyboard, and the customers are a part of it.
Yeah,
The customers
yes.
are a part of it. Yeah.
I love that storyboard. I'll take it. You'll see it in my next one. But no, it truly is. And it's just a matter, it's like a no-brainer. Because I think we need to get back to understanding what is ethical business practices. What are we obligated to? Does the customer truly have to understand the terms of the sale
We're
before we go
obligated
into
to
product
educate.
presentation? I'm sorry?
Sorry to cut. I didn't mean to cut you off, Becky. I'm sorry.
No.
You're bringing it out of me. You inspire me. But our ethics are very simple. It's to educate, and part of that is educating them through everything, which is full disclosure, full integrity. But I tell you, and I mean, you know, I like to lay it on thick. I'm more of an emotional seller and a relationship seller, right?
Yeah.
But I really get inspired when I see people when they sell and they're not laying it on super thick. They're educating. It's very, very convincing.
It is. It's like you build that credibility. The idea is not hiding anything. It's like, okay, it is what it is.
Yes.
You know, it is. It is. And that's what they want to hear. They want to know nobody's messing with me, that you've got my best interest at heart. And I do. Here's the terms of the sale. This is what you've agreed to. We said we have some other options that would be available to you. Part of my responsibility is to go over those options with you.
It's
It's
one
really
other
that
thing,
simple.
folks.
just to throw in, I'm seeing tons and tons of things everywhere about people marking up cars over list. And I got to tell you, I happen to be a capitalist, and I always prided myself on having the most units at the store that I wound up owning, the best CSI, and the highest gross. If you can look people in the eye and justify why you and the experience you'll provide and the dealership and the vehicle provides enough value, it's easy. I always wanted to strangle guys, and when I owned the place, I fired guys that would hide a window sticker.
Right.
So they didn't have to discuss it. The truth will set your butt free. It's so much easier, to be honest, because what most bad salespeople don't understand, everybody on this panel understands it, but what most bad salespeople don't understand, it's not about the deal. It's about the deal after the deal and the deal after that. And that only comes from have fun with people, build trust with people, and build value with people. So it's just crazy. But I guess it's, as you said, Chris, it's just human nature, and people are going to be people. And the people that get up in the morning and they're glad they've got a job to go to, and people they're excited to meet are going to be good. And the idiots are just going to find a way to burn every bridge.
And we have to manage through that. But the last thing I'll say, if you want to be successful and it's not super complicated, just smile to your customer. Just smile. And
So you're saying you can smile and charge somebody $15,000 for the ceramic coating on their Bronco?
But
That actually makes you smile harder. Explain to them. That puts a smile on his wife's face. The whole crew's happy.
Everybody, thank you so much. I can't tell you how much I enjoyed this show. Normally we watch while Larry takes over, but Chris and Becky, you guys are just awesome. What a great connection that was. And we picked up some great stuff. Hopefully our audience is, there's no question our opinion that our audience has learned a tremendous amount, because our business is going through such a change. And yes, we never change. We always change, but it's a big challenge, and it's still going down to people and how you handle it. And Becky, I got to tell you, your point about the F&I kiosk, holy cow, wouldn't a dealer love to have extra people in their showroom instead of hidden out back? So thank you. Ian, I'll leave it to you to close.
Yep. Thanks very much for all the thoughts. I appreciate the, I guess, similar but different opinions. And it was great to hear a little bit about the history with AutoNation and Menu, but also lots of great input on compliance and other topics, which I know aren't as popular but important. And have yourself a great week. Any final thoughts from Chris or Becky?
It's an honor to meet you, Becky and Larry. I've made some new friends here today. It's been an honor, and I'm really looking forward to getting in contact with you to share some best practices, because that's what all this is about.
And I also want to say the same thing, Chris. It's a pleasure to meet you, and got to bring you on my live talk with Becky Chernick one of these days, and be a fun show, that's for sure. And you know, I'm a big believer in where this whole thing is going with even digital menu, digitalizing the entire workflow. It's where it's at. It's where it's going. That's where I'm at, and it is a pleasure to be able to discuss where we're at. And I got to tell you, AutoNation to this day is still completely on that menu selling, 100% of the customers, 100% of the time. So, and they've got some big numbers to prove it was right.
Face it and embrace it.
That's it.
Thanks so much. Have a great day and a great week.
See you guys.
All the best,
Happy
everybody.
selling.
Thanks again.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for the